Anybody home?
What kind of party is this, anyway?
A very strange party, if you'll pardon the expression.
Radio General Urko.
Yes, sir, but that's not what's so peculiar.
Put it on the bridge speakers, Lieutenant. Pay more attention.
DJ 7L.
I thought it might be static, but not on every channel. You tend to sound like...
Holy Mountain Printing Podcast.
We don't take orders from super fools. We give them.
The Science Ninja Team is here.
I swear they landed right there on the other side of the hill.
Hear me and hear me.
Wait a minute, what's that?
I demand an explanation.
Look at that one, bigger than the rest. He looks like...
Invasion by creatures from space confirmed. New York City may be the next objective.
Just stop.
And get out of here.
What is it, Lieutenant?
I'm getting some very strange reports from sick bay level.
In what way is strange?
Holy Mountain Printing Podcast.
Listen to this.
All right, I'm not holding hands with my guest, David Moses.
Ahoy.
David Moses is a wonderful friend of ours here at Holy Mountain. He's an illustrator of the funny books, comics.
That's right.
And he did issue 1 and what you're about to be able to get, issue 2 of Tales from the Holy Mountain, a free comic book we're giving away with every order. David, show it off.
Here we are.
There it is. Look at that.
Beautiful mini comic. Glorious black and white.
So this is the second issue, but we've never, we haven't talked about the first issue. So how did we end up doing this, David? How did we end up doing this, David?
Well, that's a great question, Daniel.
My name's Danny.
Danny.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I came through one time with a load of my own funny books and just wanted to say, hey, thanks for doing what you do. I really respect Holy Mountain as an institution, and I knew that you enjoyed comics, so I was like, hey, I'm in the area. Let me stop by, say what's up. So that's what I did. And then, let's see, the second time I came through was about June when I had the next issue of my series Galactic Junk Squad, well, more like family. And you said the magic words. You said, hey, we should do something together. And it was like the clouds parted and the lights shone down gloriously upon us. And I said, yeah, let's do something.
I remember it exactly like that. The lights, the clouds, the birds singing, the whole trip. I remember it. It was just like that. You described that perfectly.
Yeah. So then, you showed me that you wanted to do a mini comic, and I was like, well, this is perfect. It's not too much. It's not like a 22-page epic. And, there's just enough to tell a really nice little story in there. And so from there, I started driving home and having ideas, and, I would text you stuff and you'd be like, man, that sounds cool. And I was like, great. And so, here we are, issue 2.
Yeah, I don't believe I gave you any notes other than that's awesome. Great. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a dream, actually. I mean, to work with somebody who just lets you go and do what you want to do. And, you want to make it good, right? So you rein yourself in a little bit and you don't go full craziness. But that's essentially how it went down, in my recollection.
It's one of those things that's awesome to let somebody just do what they're supposed to do. Like, when we say, hey, make us a mini comic, what would be the point of me micromanaging it? Like, we wanted you to do it because we like what you do. Mm. So, I mean, and you killed it. It was, I was so goddamn pleased with that when you got finished that we went and bought original pages from me so that we could have them framed all nice and hang around here.
Yeah, that's a surreal experience. When you showed me the double page spread that you had framed, it's like, wait a second, this is a real thing.
Yeah. That's how I felt getting it back, though, because you know, there's this thing that was like not that long ago, just a weird idea. Like,
right,
we should do something. And now I've got this crazy framed double spread of the comic that we made. It's fucking amazing. Amazing. So then we get up to speed here. We're doing issue 2.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing we did with issue 1 and just giving them away. Just giving them away for free.
Genius. It's brilliant. I mean, how incredible is that you get, like, you buy shirts and records and comics, and then you get an extra comic that you didn't even have to pay for. Amazing.
It's exactly what I wish I got when I ordered something, which is what we try and do here. Everything is like what I wish I got. Like, I wish if I ordered a shirt, it came in a screen printed envelope with some crazy art on it. And I wish it came with all these stickers, and I wish it came with a free comic. So we're just doing what I wish other people were doing.
And that's what sets Holy Mountain apart.
So, issue 1, obviously you went with the old EC Comics vibe. Hopefully everyone seeing this or hearing this has seen issue 1, because they're long gone now.
Yeah.
But then we went into issue 2, and you went in another direction. Same story, same characters, but we went in a completely different direction. And so you want to talk about how you got there?
Yeah. So the way that issue 2 kind of sprouted was we decided to get together and go digging in long boxes at a couple of comic shops. And initially you had said, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's not going to be anything bad. I know that. So, you know, let's see what
if I had taken you outside and revealed I had feelings for you? How conflicted were you? You're a married man.
I would let you down gently, and
I appreciate that.
Thank you for the consideration. I mean, that's very kind of you, but I can't, you know.
But it would have to be an honor, you know, someone like me.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean,
my goodness.
You know.
This strong man here, this strapping young lad.
Strapping young man.
So we were shopping around, found some amazing comics at our friend Sequoia's store.
Capital Comics?
Yeah, Capital Comics in Raleigh, North Carolina. And we found a bunch of old Kirby stuff, which is what I'm always looking for. Specifically, a run of the reprints of Black Magic, which was a series that Simon and Kirby Studios did in the 50s and was reprinted by DC Comics, which is the ones that I got. And a couple of 2001 issues as well. And then so, you know, we were leaving and you said, hey, do you want to do another issue? And I said immediately, yes, of course. And on my way home, you texted me and you said, hey, Sequoia said, you guys just bought a bunch of Jack Kirby stuff. Why don't you do something cosmic? Which is absolutely 100% my lane. Like, that's what I love to do. And so then came the challenge of trying to wrap the story of Frank the Templar into a cosmic context. And I think it's pretty fun what we ended up with.
The funny part is I was completely ready when Sequoia made that suggestion to just let you make a new story. I was like, whatever. Like, I was ready for you to just come back and this is a second comic and it's got the same title, but we're going with a different story, because I didn't immediately understand how we were going to take an EC horror homage with our Templar character and turn it cosmic. And then you did it fucking beautifully. It's a continuation of the story. It feels like part 2, but you nailed all those references that Sequoia was talking to us about.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate the challenge of trying to fit things together that might not be the first thing that you put together, like a hell horror story and like celestial cosmic craziness. So that kind of challenge is sort of inspiring, and I'm excited with what we came up with.
Yeah.
So
And by we mean you.
Well,
I did. This is part 2 of almost no notes for me at all. I think I might have given you one. So
but you make it happen. So
okay, but anyway, you did it all. So let's drop the we. I just paid for them to be printed,
which is again, it's a dream come true. I get to do a rad comic and Danny prints it. Amazing.
It was amazing watching and Joel and I talked about this during the production of you doing it, seeing the images as they came in, and it was like, obviously we hired you for issue 1 because we like your work, of course, but issue 2 was a massive level up. Like watching watching those images come in, I was just like, wow, he's really fucking going for it this time. I mean, this is a significant jump, evolutionary leap, if you will, from the first issue. So
yeah, well, there was a lot of contextual differences in my life, because like when we did the first one, I wrote out a script and sent it to you, and we were working out some details, and then I went out of town briefly at the end of July of 2020. When I came back, I had to quarantine until I got a negative test from C-19, and during that quarantine, it was about 8 or 10 days, is when I knocked out the entire first issue, and so there was this sense that I had to get it done within this time frame, because if not, it would just get slowed down and delayed, and I didn't want that to happen, because we were talking about it coming out as a sort of like a Halloween treat in your basket of Holy Mountain purchases. And so getting it together within that time frame, I had to make some shortcuts, and there were certain aspects of how I was working that changed in the second issue. For example, and this is getting into like craft stuff, cartooning, but I was using a number 4 brush for the first issue, so it's really chunky, inky stuff. And then for the second issue, I had begun using a number 2 brush, which is about half the size, so it allows me a little bit more precision, a little bit more detail work, and it works better with like a more detailed Kirby-esque cosmic kind of approach, rather than a really dark, heavy shadows, like old EC noir kind of horror thing. And so, also I had more time to work on it, because this one took about a month to make. I was able to take my time and really be a little bit more intentional with certain aspects of it, and put more detail into each panel and a little bit more care. So it's kind of cool to compare the two, because they look different, and that's because almost everything around it contextually was different.
It was really interesting getting to see both issues back to back and just see that jump. It was crazy. It was awe-inspiring to see. We all really enjoyed that, because in the first one it was also crazy though, because it was like pages were coming in daily. It was like I would see a page before I went to bed, and then I would wake up and see a page, and I was like, what in the fuck, this guy's... And I remember distinctly, like, so I hate talking about money, and you and I had hit a point where we were kind of talking about money, and I just kind of got, like my mind was like, I don't know, this sucks, I don't want to talk about this.
Right.
So like, you just kept plowing through pages, and I hadn't even answered you about this, and I remember also thinking that was really cool, because you didn't know, like we didn't know, we'd never settled on shit. We didn't know, you didn't know you were being paid or not, like, but you just were like, fuck this, I'm doing it, which is really fucking cool to see.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like, for me, I considered it like sort of a dream opportunity. It's like, okay, so I'm by myself right now, and I have the chance to knock out as much work as I can. I want to make this happen regardless of whatever agreement we come to. I had already decided that, because I knew that it was going to be fruitful for not just externally, but for myself, as a cartoonist. So, I got to sort of live the dream of knocking out like sometimes 2.5 pages a day. That's like, I just think of the old school guys who could just destroy multiple pages a day, and I was always like dumbfounded at how they were able to do that. And for this, I got to pencil, ink, and letter each page, so it took me a little bit longer to do a page, but the satisfaction of coming out of a potentially sort of depressing moment where you're separated from the people that you care about and everything, coming out with something to show for this time was a big motivational factor for me as well. So I was gonna do it regardless of what we came to. I mean, but I'm really glad it worked out the way it did.
I am too. It was beautiful, and you're right. What a cool thing to come out of having to fucking, isolate yourself from your family in a room, and you come out of the other side of it with a fully formed comic.
Right.
That's really fucking cool. And so you have issue 2 here with you, right?
I do. Yes.
So.
Yes. I
want to talk about evolutionary leaps in here. I want to talk about this.
All right. The double page splash, yes. So there's a little bit of planning that goes along with making a comic, right? So, you got to make sure that certain moments hit on a page turn, right? So when I'm writing, I'm always angling for, okay, well, this very center of this book where the staples show, and where if you set it down, it's going to just open automatically. It's got to be a double page spread each time. So I'm writing, I've got to get 5 pages down up until this moment. Let me set up the entire thing for this moment. So this was, I felt really proud of this page. It felt like it was a moment where I had taken a leap forward and, started incorporating some ideas of how Kirby would arrange a page, because a lot of times he'll have something in the extreme foreground, like a dude's face.
Which is one of my favorite parts of this, the bottom corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, fuck, that's amazing.
Yeah, and he's
extremely Kirby.
Holding his staff. And so there's like this curved, again, this is getting into like composition and cartooning and stuff like that. But there's a certain power that you feel when you get these images that are like extreme close up and then mid ground, and then you have things going on in the background, and you gotta take a moment and really figure out what's going on. Like those are my favorite pages where you've got to sit back, and it might not be super text heavy, but you have to trace the sequence of events and how they're happening concurrently, how they're happening sequentially, and all that stuff. And so this was a lot of fun, and ironically, it's the shortest page on the script. It's literally like 3 lines of like, craziness, war, this person says this, or here's what the narration says, and that's basically it. And so, you got to craft this, something that moves the story along and tells something that's compelling on multiple different levels.
When you sent that over, I was mind blown. I just was like, holy shit. Like, this is going to be, like, when you turn the page to this, it's going to be crazy. And it is. It's a crazy couple of pages to take in, and it's a lot. Like, it's something that the minute you open it and look at it, it's extremely exciting, and then you notice everything that's going on, because it's not immediately all aware to you. Like, but that was one of the pieces that came in where I was like, this dude really fucking stepped it up.
Yeah, it felt like it. That one took me the longest. Of course, it's the largest, but it took me the longest of any other 2 pages combined. Just because I wanted to spend a lot of time with it and make sure that it got to a place where I was happy with it. And yeah.
Well, we're all super excited about this thing and can't wait to start mailing them out to everybody with their orders so that they can all enjoy this. And we got a ton of great feedback on the first one, so awesome. I can't wait for all those people to see what you did this time, because this is, if they love that, this is going to blow that out of the water. Like, this is an unbelievable step up. So
I'm really excited about it. Very excited.
So since we have you here,
yes.
let's David Moses. Let's let David Moses get into comic books.
Well, I was born on a Monday night. No. So growing up, you know, as many children of the 80s and 90s, I was born in 84, so I'm old now. And, you know, kids who were born in the 80s, there's like a period of time, the speculator boom, which seems to have shaped every young boy's psyche, right? Like, me and my brothers were trading baseball cards and hockey, football, you know, basketball, all the stuff. And comics were a little bit on the periphery for me, except that my dad is a great amateur artist, and my oldest brother for a time was drawing. And so I wanted to be like them. And so I started drawing all the time. And basically, you know, we had this fuel for inspiration from, you know, the Marvel comics from, you know, the late 70s to the 90s, right? Which was like all the guys like McFarlane and Liefeld and, you know, Silvestri, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Jim Lee, right? It's like these images that are just burned into your memory, you know, from when you're a kid. So, like, for example, that Sam Keith issue, that character Cyber, like, I was flipping through that, which we'll get to later. And it was like I was looking at it from when I was 6 years old again, because I hadn't seen some of these images in so long. So anyway, these things, you know, were the foundation, and I was drawing all the time up until about high school, and you know, taking art classes in school and everything. But I got out of it for probably 10 years, between 20 and 30 years old, and then came back to it when my oldest brother lent me his copy of Watchmen, and I had never read it. I knew about the movie, but I didn't realize that it was a comic first. And when I saw that, you know, there's sort of a level of communication that can be done through comics that is just as high, if not higher, than film or literature in some regards, you know, it really sparked that flame that had died out a long time ago. And so from there, I just started voraciously reading everything I could get my hands on. And at the time, I was writing other stuff like movie scripts and all that stuff. And then one day I was sitting down with a comic and I read it, and it was a transcendent experience for me. Like, the story, the visual, everything came together, and I realized this is what I want to make. This right here is what I need to make. And so I transitioned into writing, and then my wife was like, hey, why don't you draw your stuff? And I'm like, I'm not that good. I don't really, I'm not, you know, I'm so far out of practice that I can't, what am I going to do? It's going to look like crap. But then I struck upon this idea where basically, why don't I just draw all the things that I want to draw? And so I tried my hand at that, and that's what Galactic Junk Squad, well, more like family, is. And so from then, it just became a burning passion. And so I was been doing it for the past several years now. That's the story.
It's totally interesting because almost for the exact same period of time, you and I both had, I wouldn't say, I never didn't like comics, but I wasn't there for them.
Right.
And mine was skateboarding. Like, I had, you know, at a certain age, I was so absorbed in that I wasn't reading comics.
Right.
And I still was interested in them. I still liked them. I just wasn't. And then that went into like touring with bands and whatever, and then forming this stuff. But it was like roughly 10 years that I wasn't reading comics. And then a friend of mine, we ended up sharing a warehouse together, and he was still actively reading comics, and he took me back to Capital Comics, where you and I went, where Sequoia works. And that was where I dove back in. So it's just funny to me that you and I both weirdly took a decade off of comics and then came back just like full on.
Wow, that's
like
interesting.
obsessed with them. But
arguably a good decade to take a break from comics, you know?
I don't know. Well,
no, there's always good stuff being made. I will say that.
I feel like I missed a lot of stuff that I'm going back and chasing now. Because at first,
it's true.
When I first came back, I was either reading things that were on the shelves at that time, or I was reading things from my childhood. And then it was only maybe Sequoia knows. It was like, because he's the guy that kind of facilitates all my bullshit.
Right.
He's the one where I was like, hey man, I missed a lot of stuff. Like, what did I miss? And I started to be like, fuck, I missed all this great stuff.
Yeah.
So he's been helping me get back up to speed on all this wonderful shit that I wasn't there for. But
shout out to libraries too, because I would come out with stacks and stacks of, graphic novels and maxi series and just trade paperbacks, and it's free. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. When you are as poor as I was, which was practically destitute, we were so ridiculously poor. That was a saving grace, and so shout out to libraries. Support your local library. That's all.
So, I wanted to take some. We went the other day with our man Joel over there that you can't see, but Joel's back there. He's fist pumping and doing
Cutting
stuff right
podcast.
now. Yeah. We went over to Foundation's Edge, another of our local favorites. It's probably, I love Capital, but Foundation's Edge is probably my favorite local spot, just because of the fucking mayhem that is that that back issue room. It is like nothing anyone has ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
And anyone listening, I'm not exaggerating. You've never seen anything as chaotic as this, and it's filled with absolute fucking gems.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, it's just piles and piles and stacks and boxes, and you could go there and you could go through comic by comic, and it would take you months probably to lay hands on everything in this place.
Totally.
So we went there, and we both pulled some books that we're going to talk about here, like what we found that. So
yes, indeed.
You go ahead and start. What'd you get?
So I found a coverless copy of Commandy #4 by Jack Kirby, which I don't have any of the Commandy series except for a book that shows the pencils and inks of the first issue. And so I need to start building up my collection of Commandy. And it is absolutely gorgeous. But this is a really cool little artifact here. He's, last boy on Earth is kind of his tagline. And he goes out foraging with these guys and finds a copy of Demon #1. It's a nice little cross-marketing reference there by Kirby. But, I mean, some of the best storytelling. Like, the story, it just keeps you engrossed the entire time. There's no point where you're like, oh, I got to stop and read all this, narration and like expositional dialogue to fill in the gaps. No, he is a master at filling in the gaps as you go along and just pushing right through to the end. And so that's what this issue is. I was blown away.
Kirby and Ditko being the two big ones that you and I definitely, where I was like, I like this David Moses character. This is my guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I went ahead and got this wonderful. It's a one shot in the storyline, but it's a Matt Wagner doing the Demon, which Matt Wagner did the Demon. What was it? It was a 4-issue limited series,
right?
And then came back and did this little one shot story, and it is fucking beautiful. Like, I mean,
it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Specifically, I mean,
look at that.
Matt Wagner is a fucking gift to the world, and so I'm always been a big Grendel fan. I was, and actually got into Grendel through the Pander Brothers stuff that Kamiko did, but that sent me backwards. Like, because I was reading Robotech at the time, so I was like, well, these Robotech comics, same brand. I'll give this Grendel guy a fucking go. And I love those. And then it wasn't a guy, of course. The Panda Brothers, it was Christine Spar. But but then I went back and read the other Grendel stuff, and now I'm kind of obsessively working my way through all the different storylines that I missed because I wasn't there. But Matt Wagner is a fucking, again, a national treasure.
Yeah, indeed. So
what you got?
We found, because this actually is Danny's, but he's letting me show it off. Demon number 9, which introduces the character Farley Fairfax, who is essentially a Phantom of the Opera archetype. Again, just opening on just the most energetic and captivating splash pages that you can imagine, and then going into a double page, like where, look, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? You've got somebody in the foreground, you've got all this action going on here, and you have to like trace the sequence of events as it's happening, but it's all in one image, and it's really phenomenal. Kirby is the greatest at this, but great storyline. Farley Fairfax kidnaps somebody and takes him underground, and the reveal, I gotta show the reveal because it's absolutely terrifying. He takes his mask off, and oh man, I lost it. I lost it.
There we go.
Look at that. Terrifying. And this reminds me actually a lot of the old Simon and Kirby Studios, how they would do horror stuff. It looks a lot like his old school stuff. So that's very cool.
Yeah, the 2-page spread is definitely very telling of your like where you're getting your ideas for your 2-page spread.
Exactly.
But yours is very much your own. It's nice to see, like everybody's paying homage to something, and it's always nice to see where that shit comes from.
That's true.
So, for my next book, I brought this Star Wars issue 14. It is an unbelievably beautiful cover, but mostly
gorgeous.
What made it stand out to me is the pattern in the background, which reminds me of when you and I don't remember what book we were looking at, but there was a pattern in the background.
It was Black Magic.
Was it Black Magic? That's right. Because I said, look at that. That's amazing. And then you incorporated it into the book.
So the title of the Black Magic issue, it has these like circular lines going around the title. And so I decided to surprise Danny with incorporating that because I knew he would enjoy it.
As soon as I saw this, I thought the same thing. So everybody, go ahead and expect to see this pattern somewhere in issue 3.
Absolutely.
So, which is definitely already something everyone's thinking of.
Yes, indeed.
So, and aside from that, these old Star Wars comics are fucking amazing. I mean,
they're great because they just went with the craziest ideas that they could think of.
Right. Once they left the confines of retelling the story of the first movie, oh my god! And look at this ad in here. Unbelievable.
Beautiful.
So,
it just sparks up all those nostalgia receptors.
Well, this was great too. I read these when I was a kid because, I was obsessed, like every fucking kid. I was obsessed with Star Wars. It was the most amazing thing in the world. And then you got all these additional stories. Also, my neighbor worked for the Durham Morning Herald. I can't remember the name exactly, but it was a local. When I lived in Durham as a kid, it was the local paper. And he would drop the paper off on our porch every morning because it had the Star Wars strip in it.
Amazing.
So I got all those. Which recently I got the collected one that Marvel did. Which is, if anyone hasn't seen that is amazing stuff. So.
Amazing. So next up we have 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is yet another Kirby title. And what is heartbreaking and also amazing about this whenever you find it is because of rights issues between Warner Brothers and maybe the Arthur C. Clarke estate and and Marvel, they are unable to reprint this comic. So these are basically the only ones in existence. Another phenomenal story. It's a continuation from issue 3 of Marak, who is a prehistoric conqueror. And look, here's a great example. of the double page that I was sort of going for is humongous like energy coming off of this dude's head here, this horse head, like extreme foreground, and then you've got this major action in the midground, and then you've got stuff going on, background, some warriors riding in the background as well, screaming over here with spears pointed towards them. It's just amazing. And then this ad is just... No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I keep hitting all the ads, but...
Really got to you with that thing earlier where I talked about having feelings for you, huh? Really got something going inside you.
Sweet, sassy Molassy.
Oh. Because that guy's body's basically mine. That was what true. I was alluding to, that he was pretty much... almost as hunky as me. Almost.
Look at this. You cannot improve upon this one iota. Like, this is what I'm looking for in comics, and that's what I try and make. But I fall far short. But the trying is the fun part. So.
You and I have both been chasing down all those 2001s too.
Yeah.
So you actually found some that I was missing for me.
That's right. Edge, yeah. That's right.
So what I'm bringing next is, when we were at Foundation's Edge, I found 5 of the 6-issue Marvel Comics Presents run of the Venom Wolverine story that Sam Keith did. This is touching on stuff I wasn't there for. This is wonderful, though. And I love the Wolverine Cyber story he did earlier in Marvel Comics Presents, which actually, Chuck, if you're listening, this is going out in the mail for you tomorrow. It's actually, by the time you hear this, it'll have probably reached you. So
Lucky Chucky.
Whatever, Lucky Chucky. But this is the collected version of those Marvel Comics Presents. But Sam Keith's work is unfucking real. I mean,
who draws Wolverine like that? I mean,
look
it's
at
like
this.
Classic.
I mean, this is fucking
He's
beautiful.
Even got the spare tire gut going on.
Yeah, I mean, his biceps have biceps. I mean, his abs have biceps, as Chuck recently said to me. So, I mean, yeah, Sam Keith is unreal. So,
yeah,
obviously, having loved the Wolverine Cyber story, this was a no-brainer to go ahead and grab. I just got to find that one missing issue, and I'll have all of these ready to read.
Their foreheads look like shattered glass. There's so much going on.
They seriously, Look at Venom's forehead. He's exactly right. Yeah, looks like someone broke it.
So I found Ebony Warrior from Anaya, or I think it's Anaya Comics. I think they're from Georgia, from Atlanta area. It was a black-owned independent comic book company that put out a couple different series, almost like a independent Milestone Comics. Milestone being a subsidiary of DC with Dwayne McDuffie and Dennis Cowan and so on and so forth. But this is just a great thing that I wanted to have for my collection. And, it's all these comics from the 90s are just like a time capsule of what was going on and how people felt about what was happening. And it's pretty amazing. And it's really great to see from a black-owned company, their perspective on what was going on in the 90s. Also, Meteor Man, this movie, I saw it when it came out in the theaters, and it made me cry. And I love it. I can't wait to watch it again, because it just came out on a streaming service again, I think. But, I mean, look at this. This is a great double-page splash, but they've got the very 90s, like, slanted panel boundaries and everything, but the guy breaks through all of it. It's just a classic technique there. But anyway, that was a cool find.
All right, my last find while we were shopping was the Star Blazers miniseries that Kamiko did, which again I was obsessed with Robotech as a kid.
Amazing.
The TV show, which spiraled over into me reading the comics, even though they were just adaptations of the show. But then I kind of if Kamiko did it, I was interested, and Star Blazers was immediately up my alley, even though I wasn't familiar with the actual animated show. These are I actually had these, but mine are trash, and Foundation's Edge was kindly enough to have these beautiful copies that I can replace mine with.
Those are in great condition.
And Chuck, if you're listening again, I'm going to go ahead and mail you my old beat-up copies so you can read them. Reader copies for life.
Lucky Chucky.
Lucky Chucky.
Sorry, Chuck. If you don't like, I apologize.
Hey, Chuck, I'm not going to tell him the nickname that I call you, and or the subsequent song your wife, Justin Pope, and I all sing to you when we're hanging out together. Not going to do it because it's wrong. Wouldn't be cool.
Not for young ears.
But I'm going to go ahead and say that these things exist, and that he would be grateful to simply be Lucky Chucky.
Indeed.
Over this other one. Chucky. Yeah. Anyway.
Chuck
I'm just going to say, yeah. Whoa. Chuck lends itself to a lot of songs.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I found this version, which I'd never actually seen, by Argo Press, and I just grabbed it, for the hell of it. It looked cool, and the art looked awesome, and I was like, fuck it, let's grab that too while we're here. They only had one issue, but let's give it a shot. Also, shout out Mike Chen. In our first issue of our magazine, we did an interview with Mike Chen. He did the inks on these. He also did the pencils in the DC Comics Mask miniseries based on the cartoon. He did the interior pencils on the Starriors comic that Marvel did, which is actually fucking fantastic. And the Starriors toy line was also fantastic. If you didn't think it was fantastic, fuck you. It's awesome.
You heard it.
And the comic, on top of having Mike Chen pencils on the inside, it's a 4-issue series, and it's got Sienkiewicz covers. And each fucking one is better than the last. So, again, you don't like Starriors comic, Starriors toy line, get fucked. Sorry.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Beat it.
So the last one that I picked up one more that I forgot, which is a Astro Boy mini comic that's pretty amazing. But I also got this beautiful issue of The Humans by Keenan Marshall Keller and Tom Neely. Shout out Keenan and Tom. Tom, I actually got to interview for a thing on my Patreon. Yes. Patreon.com/David Moses. He's a brilliant cartoonist. I call him a perfect cartoonist because whatever he wants to do, he's able to execute. And that, to me, there's no higher praise than being able to do that. So The Humans is about a biker gang of apes, and it is bananas. It is absolutely crazy, and I'll show you evidence of the craziness here. Just a second. Somebody gets torched, and that is absolutely wild. And there's even more, but The Humans is a great series. They're working on one called The Jungle right now, which is this whole gang of biker apes in prison, and it gets pretty wild. I've seen some pages. So
all right,
yeah,
so that's everything we found at Foundation's Edge. If you are from or anywhere near Raleigh and you haven't been there, you need to go there right away.
Right near NC State campus,
right on Hillsborough Street, or right off of Hillsborough Street.
Right.
But Foundation's Edge Comics, the best shop in this fucking town, easy. At least for, there's 3 great shops in this town
for
that I want
digging
to.
in long boxes.
Let's go
for
ahead.
Sure.
And Capital Comics, Ultimate Comics, great fucking shops.
Excellent places.
Ultimate Comics back issue room and the Carey store is also pretty fucking unreal.
Yep. Shout out Harrison.
Yep. But yeah, for an archaeological dig, nothing beats Foundation's Edge.
It's true.
So next, we agreed to each bring 3 comics that, that we love and either for one reason or another either got us into it or sustained our interest or whatever.
Right.
So where are we at here? You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I brought way more than 3 because I couldn't.
I'm a cheater and I brought more than 3 too.
I couldn't just narrow it down. So heartbreaking news yesterday. The great irreplaceable artist John Paul Leon passed away from his battle with cancer. This right here, The Winter Men, is perhaps the most underrated comic series in history, in my humble but informed opinion. And written by Brett Lewis, who is a genius writer, and John Paul Leon does the art. And it is so. The thing about John Paul Leon, you get this like heavy shadow, heavy black stuff, like Alex Toth, right? Or Mike Mignola. But you get this, every single panel that he makes, he captures the exact perfect moment of what needs to be done. So whether it's like this subtle, like hesitation that the character is feeling, he will capture it pitch perfectly. And he did series like Earth X. He did the interiors. Alex Ross did the covers. He did Static for Milestone. He's done several things, not as much as I wish he had done, but every single thing that he did is a home run. And I'm heartbroken that he's not going to be making more. But rest in peace, John Paul Leon. May his memory be everlasting. All right, so that's my first pick.
I brought the Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely, Batman and Robin, which is my comeback to comics. That is what I selected that day.
Excellent.
It was maybe 8 issues forward on stands, but Capital Comics had the previous issues available, so after flipping through and trying, I was like, because it was daunting. You've been away from comics for a decade, and now you're going to get back into it, and everything in the fucking world is it's overwhelming. How the fuck am I going to narrow this down? And so I just wandered around for hours looking at stuff, and my friend Tommy, who brought me, he was showing me things, and this is one of them, and this one really great. I mean, immediately, Frank Quitely's artwork is unfucking real, otherworldly, just beautiful stuff. And so I have the complete run of this, this up to the, when they did the New 52. Love this book, and it's super meaningful to me because this is, even though I'm actually 100% more a Marvel guy, this is the book that brought me back to comics.
Wow.
And it's just, yeah.
So let me ask you a quick question, okay? Because I've read a few Grant Morrison things. What is it to you that makes Grant Morrison a great writer?
It would be hard for me to say, because to be completely honest, this is the only thing that I've read that he did, and he left the series not that far into it.
Okay.
So I'm not even necessarily a Grant Morrison guy. Like, it's kind of been on my radar that I would like to read other things.
Right.
I want to read
Same
his
here.
Doom Patrol, and I believe he did an Animal Man run, which I actually really love Animal Man. So I would like to read that, but I haven't. So it's kind of hard. I can tell you why I like this Batman and Robin comic, but I don't think it's necessarily indicative to why one would like Grant Morrison.
Okay.
But it's it's Batman and Robin, but definitely weirder. Definitely a little more left of center and strange. And immediately reading this was not the Batman I remember from 10 years ago.
Right.
This is a wilder story. You get into some pretty sketchy characters in this book and some pretty gnarly violence in some moments. So it was not that Batman wasn't violent, but this felt a little more dangerous.
They like to get into some wild stuff.
Yeah.
Quietly.
Yeah. So that's definitely going on here. This is a wild book, and it grabbed my attention. And from here, actually, the next book to really grab me was Daredevil's Reborn, which I almost brought, the 4-issue Daredevil Reborn series, because that perfectly set you up. You go from there right into Mark Waid's unbelievable fucking run. But I figured I'd go with the one that actually brought me back.
Awesome.
So what do you got?
So this is Cancor by the great Matthew Allison. This was one of the early things that I really latched onto. He's been creating comics for a while. This series, Cankor, he put out 4 issues over a couple of years, and I like to describe it as some of the most comics. And what I mean by that is, the fusion of image and concept is perfect. So, like, for example, check this out. So this dude is punching Cankor, right? And it creates this emanata coming off of his face. And then the guy who punches him grabs one of the bolts and he starts, like, stabbing him with it. It's like breaking the fourth wall for comics. And I desperately love this series, and Matt is one of the great cartooning voices in the independent world.
That looks amazing. I want to read that.
Yeah, you'll love it. I'll let you borrow it.
So my next one, I brought issue 1 of New Mutants, which I was thankful to get Bob McLeod's grumpy ass to sign for me. And he looked at me like he wished I would explode and pointed at the sign that let me know how much it would be for him to sign it, and he signed it. It was interesting. My wife kind of watched the whole thing like, wow, that was underwhelming. But you know what? I don't give a fuck, because he signed it and he made it, and this is an extremely meaningful book to me. I think when everybody wanted to be an X-Men, I was really young. I love the X-Men too, but I wanted to be a New Mutant. It seemed more realistic. Like I could identify with these characters a little more because I was much younger. And I think that, the work in here is beautiful. And I love this. And of course I love Sienkiewicz's.
Look at that.
Yeah, the pattern is fucking beautiful. I love Sienkiewicz's. The era that Sienkiewicz is doing New Mutants is my favorite era.
Yeah.
But this is super, super fucking amazing stuff here. And I had like the first 6 issues on... we moved out of our house and we had to drive across the country to a job my dad was going to take. And then we got there and realized he was not going to take it and had to turn around and drive back.
Oh, wow.
So, and my only buddies on this road trip were the first 6 issues of the New Mutants, which I read and read and read and read and read as we painfully drove across the country. But yeah, these books, that's probably my favorite comic series. And I was super sad when because COVID canceled the last Ultimate Comics, the what would have been the Raleigh convention. I believe it was the Raleigh convention,
right?
Because Claremont was going to be there,
right?
And I was
Sienkiewicz going to be there too.
No, Sienkiewicz wasn't, but Claremont was,
wow.
And I was going to have both of them on. I was so excited. I was like counting down. I can't wait. I'm going to get Chris Claremont. I was like, Chris Claremont's probably going to be nice to me, as opposed to looking at me like he wished I would incinerate. And then I'm going to have both their fucking signatures on here, and then fucking COVID ruined the dream. But hey, maybe later.
Yeah. He's still among us.
He's still among us.
So my next one is Copra by Michel Fife, who is another just absolute amazing independent comics artist. So Copra's his series that he does everything for, including like distribution and shipping. Since COVID, he had to take those reins back because he started working with Image to release single issues and re-release the trades of everything. But since Diamond got slowed down, he had to take it back into his own hands. But every single panel of a Copra issue is something that I feel like I've never seen before. He breaks some sort of rule or bends it and makes every single moment something that like almost takes my breath away. But he was a major inspiration for me to start lettering my own comics, because I read the first trade of Copra after meeting him at Heroes Con 2019, and I could not believe that somebody was making comics that were this freaking good. And it hasn't stopped. I mean, every single issue is just freaking phenomenal. So, Copra, Michel Fife, love it.
Like I told you earlier, I have the first trade. I haven't read this yet, any of it, but I have the first trade. It's on the to read pile, and I mean, it's beautiful. Just flipping through it, it was an instant buy. Like I was like, this is wonderful, whatever it is.
If I can make a recommendation and just put it close to the top
Put
of
it
your
close to the top. All right,
to read pile,
we'll bump it up.
Yeah.
So my next one, and I went ahead and brought all 6 wonderful issues.
Classic.
But this was probably after New Mutants, the second book that really blew my fucking mind. And at that age, you know, I don't know. I mean, I was in the 3rd grade when I bought this. And I don't know that I thought about Art Adams or, you know, I don't think I was thinking in terms of writers and, you know, like artists. And I just like, you know, I like the Hulk.
Right.
And then whoever the fuck, you know, and to degrees, I like the Hulk more or less.
Right.
But this is probably the first time, though, that I was like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to like this guy. I want to see everything he does. So, anyway, this is each cover is unreal.
Amazing.
Yeah. This is actually... So I had to go back and get these issues. This is the first issue I bought on stands. Because this cover, I mean, like, you know, long shot down in the corner and everybody's, you know, all the weapons drawn and claws. And I just was like, whatever this is, I got to read this. And,
that is great.
So I've been a long-time fan. Sequoia likes to look at me like, and kind of smirk at me for being a long shot guy. But I am, in fact, a long shot guy. He's a great hero. And Art Adams' work on this is unfucking real. I mean, just the lines, the denseness of each page. I mean, look at everything going on right here. I mean, it's just, you know, unfucking real. So,
he's
long
one of the
shot.
big inspirations for all the Image guys too, from what I understand.
Yeah, it would make perfect sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Kind of took things in a different direction. So next I have RM by Josh Baer. Josh Baer, another indie comics creator, is I think one of the most brilliant cartoonists around right now. And his style is it can be a little bit intimidating at first because it's not standard comic book, you know, like clear lines and everything. It's real chunky and jagged and messy sometimes, but his ability to get to the heart of a story and to the heart of a character is, it's like reading, you know, like Anton Chekhov or Dostoevsky or something like that. He really dives into the characters, and I have admittedly cried reading his stuff more than one time. He has another book.
Should show off a couple of those pages.
He has another book that's newer than this called Tomorrow Forever, and it comes with another comic called Black Star that is actually a comic that the character in Tomorrow Forever reads. So he went ahead and he made the comic that is within the comic and sort of sold it together. His mind thinks on a different level than most cartoonists. He's I'm happy to call him at least an acquaintance, semi-friend, and he's kind of a mentor to me as a cartoonist. So I appreciate Josh Baer quite a lot. You should check him out. That's right, you.
Yeah, go check him out. So I brought this for... I loved Master of Kung Fu as a kid, and I just had like a lot of random issues. I would go to flea markets and yard sales with my grandfather, and if I negotiated, I could get the comic. Like, but my grandfather would not. If they wouldn't, but if they wanted, it didn't matter. They want a nickel for that. They won't take less than a nickel. You're not getting it. So I would have to negotiate, which is why I hate negotiating. Which is, it actually takes me back to like as soon as you and I started talking about money, you remember I clammed up because I hate talking about money. I like talking about art. I like talking about music. I like talking about creating. I like talking about everything. As soon as you want to talk about money, I'm like, oh shit, I fucking left the hairdryer on. So anyway, but I never had this issue, and it is like the cover is one of the greatest comic covers of all time, in my opinion.
Excellent.
It's unfucking believable. And so I brought it. Go ahead. Yeah. I brought it because it was legitimately, I can't even kind of believe I own it. Like, to have found it out in the world and been able to take this copy home and live with it is a dream come true. And then fun story is that when we started working with Mike Vallely, the professional skateboarder, we start kicking around ideas for making shirts for him. Just casually in conversation, Master of Kung Fu comes up. And I'm like, and we geek out and talk about Master of Kung Fu and how much we both love it and how meaningful it is. It turns out Mike wrote a small article about his love and the impact of Master of Kung Fu, and he immediately forwarded it to me as if he had it in his back pocket.
Awesome.
Immediately I get here it is, actually. Here's the thing I wrote. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So we designed one of the shirts for his first wave of shirts here. Our friend Hugo Silva, the artist from Brazil, did the artwork, and we did it as an homage to this cover. And maybe in post there, our good guy Joel will throw that in so that you can see it while we talk about it. But that was an extra dream come true, because this comic I never thought I would own. Let alone also going forward, never thought I would be talking to childhood skateboarding hero about a project we're working on together and incorporating our shared love for Master of Kung Fu. All of it just fucking magic.
Amazing.
So, yeah. So that's why I brought this one. A super meaningful fucking book and a wonderful goddamn cover.
And some great Jim Starlin art in there. Al Milgrom on the inks.
Yep.
Paul Galassi did a lot of Master of Kung Fu issues, who's another amazing
artist. So Marvel's done the first 2 volumes of the Epic collections and all that. If you even have a little bit of love for Master of Kung Fu, go get those. It's amazing. And getting to sit down and read those all the way through, because again, I never had a full, I had spotty issues that I was able to come upon. So
and they're going to go quick too with the announcement of the show. Maybe.
I've definitely been I've started to put together a pretty tidy little run of them since getting that one. So.
Excellent. So my next one is Pinko Joe. By Christopher Sperandillo, who is a professor of comics arts at Rice University in Texas, and the conceit of this book is absolutely genius. So essentially, he took some early Cold War era public domain comics and reinterpreted them into a story. Heavily political, of course. His name is Pinko Joe. Of course, it's political, but it's not only thought-provoking and beautiful to look at. It is hilarious. There's at least a joke a page, probably 2 or 3 that are laugh out loud funny. Like this dude, they're running away, and then this dude says cat piss. It's Pinko Joe. Who says cat piss? But it's brilliant. So Argle Bargle Books, that's the
that's a hell of a name.
Yeah, Argle Bargle.
I'm looking
it's
at
tough
the
to get out there.
Yeah. Who put it out? Argle Bargle.
Argle Bargle. And then he's got a sequel to this coming out in the summer called Greenie Josephini. That is also really incredible. So, shout out to Christopher Sperandillo.
Shout out Argle Bargle.
Argle Bargle. And Stan who runs Argle Bargle. Yeah.
So, the last one I brought of not 3 of overdoing it, but I'm glad because you overdid it. It seems that we overdid it perfectly. So,
high five.
I found this again recently, because this is not the copy I had as a kid. But I had this Treasury edition as a kid. I found it at a flea market with my grandfather. I'm sure I had to negotiate. But I won that negotiation because I had it.
Amazing.
And this is an amazing... it's a Treasury edition released in, I think, 1975 of the, issue 3 of All-Star Comics, the first meeting of the Justice League originally released in 1944, and the art is just like beautiful. And this comic actually creeped me out as a kid. Like, it's a superhero book, but you get a little ways into some of these. Like, we get into Hawkman's story, and immediately, like, the tone of the art gets a little dark.
That's intense.
Gets a little spooky.
Very noirish. This thing right here.
Yeah, and I mean, so like,
that's gnarly right there. If you're a kid in the 40s seeing that,
for sure. I thought, as a young guy, I thought this stuff was real.
That's intense.
Real spooky and real intense. Comic. So, and then it goes on from there. You get into beautiful. The Spectre, who I love, and again, I mean, this is, it's pretty dark. It's pretty scary stuff for a kid. I was real young when I got this, but it touches those, whatever it touched in my brain, and it still does. Like, I see this, and I still get a little creeped out by it, and I think the art's fantastic. Amazing. And Sandman,
that's gorgeous.
I mean, this is just fantastic fucking stuff. So this is my last pick, and
the Treasury editions are really great too.
Yeah,
I love those. The oversized stuff.
Getting to have these like big versions, and I pretty much every time I find one of these old Treasury editions, I grab it. But this one I was super excited to grab just because of its, being a meaningful book for my youth and getting to have it again. So I've definitely pored over it since getting to reacquire it.
Excellent. And my last one, I went first, but I guess I'm also going last because
first and last.
I can't control myself here with bringing good books.
Yeah, you don't listen.
I don't.
3 books.
What'd you say?
3 meaningful books.
Who's talking right now? So Kirby, Forever People, this is overall probably my favorite Kirby story. Super meaningful to me. It basically is a triumph of anti-fascist literature, because it's these young kids from New Genesis who are going up against the ultimate evil force in the DC universe, Darkseid. I mean, this is just unbeatable art-wise. Look at that. I mean, this sort of panel is probably going to find its way into issue 3 of Tales from the Holy Mountains sometime soon. But I can't get over this book. I return to it often, and I just bought the artist edition of this, so it's like full-size pages of the scans of the original art, and I have been poring over that for the past few weeks.
This is on my list. This is one of the Kirby things I haven't read, but it's definitely on my list. I've actually already acquired it and set it to the side. Excellent. So we're good to go.
Excellent.
But right now I'm working through Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, the Kirby era of that, which is fucking amazing.
It's amazing.
It's so amazing that I hate Superman.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Superman's
fan a fucking dork. I don't like him. Never have, never will. My son, if he were here, he'd lose his mind. Just berating the listeners with why he hates Superman.
Wow.
In fact, Malcolm pretty much held court in Capitol Comics one day because there's like 6 or 7 regulars in there, and Sequoia was like, Malcolm, tell everybody what you think of Superman. And he turned to everyone shopping, and he was like, Superman fucking sucks. He didn't say fucking, but he said it in a way that, I swear you almost could hear it, the swear word. He said it in a manner that was like, this guy, I hate him. And people proceeded to lose their fucking minds.
Amazing.
And he just was like, and his reasonings were just wonderfully simple. Oh, but what about this? And they'd give him a reason that Superman was cool. And he's like, yeah, but Superman's lame. Yeah, but Superman's a buster. Yeah, but Superman stinks. Like, he never gave like it was never like, well, this happened and Superman handled it this way, and for that reason I don't like Superman. It was just like, no, man, Superman's a nerd. Why would I read that book? He's a nerd. So
Kirby does the best Superman, though.
Right.
He's actually compelling to me.
Right. Kirby's the one guy that could do a character I fucking hate and make it must-read material. So, and I'm thoroughly enjoying those issues.
He packs so many amazing ideas into that series, which was like a throwaway for such a long time, that when I first read through it, I was like shocked. Like, why have people not picked up some of these ideas and taken them and made entire series out of them. You know, brilliant stuff.
All right, well, I think that brings us to the end.
Well, thank you.
So, I guess what do you want to? Where do you want people to look for David Moses?
Yes.
Where are they going to find you?
You can find me on Instagram at d.moses.l. I am at pastiche.com, pastitch.com, pastitch. And I'm on Patreon. I do a couple different series of writing, and I show some previews of stuff that I'm working on. Patreon.com/DavidMoses. And that's mainly where you can find me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And soon, everyone that orders something from us will be able to find you in their envelope.
That's right.
Yeah, with the issue 2.
Issue 2. It says 1 right here, but that's only because the first one was issue 0.
Oh, shit.
You get it?
Yeah. You should explain that one even more deeply.
Well, so I didn't know that we were going to do another one. And, you know, there's Death Blazers, right? With Jonathan and Brockton, which is a great series that Holy Mountain has put out. And, you know, they're dealing with Frank the Templar. And I thought, well, maybe this is like sort of an semi-origin story or something to that effect. And so I was like, let me pack it full of as many ideas as I can. And we'll just call it issue 0, you know, just for fun. Little Image homage. And then you said you wanted to do another one. And I was like, oh, well, I guess it's issue number 1.
Yeah.
And so it's the second issue, but it's issue number 1. Pulled an image.
It's not confusing at all.
Not at all.
Makes perfect sense. And you'll be able to find those in your envelopes with your T-shirts and your records and whatever else.
Yeah. Yes. And there's a nice little summary here in case you didn't get the issue 0, so you can be caught up a
Get you all caught up on page 1, get caught up, and dive right in.
That's right.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, David.
My pleasure. Thank you, Danny and Joel and Olivia.
Yeah, Olivia.
You're welcome.
She has something in her throat.
Where are those crickets at? Good night, folks.